My shoulder shaping is all done, and it's time to join the shoulders with the 3 needle bind off. So you can see here that I actually put all of these on one needle. See that on one set of needles. So I've got my 2 shoulders over here, 2 shoulders over here. Now it's time to do a 3 needle bind off to join these together, which is super fabulous and fun. And you can see that I have the right sides facing. So the sweater's inside out, and I have the knit side facing the knit side. The 3 needle bind off will make a little seam across the top, and we want to make sure that, sometimes that's a nice detail, but in this case we want that to be underneath. Okay, so I have 2 tails that are short from this side, but then I have one that's really long that I left. If you didn't leave a long enough tail, it's fine. Just rejoin some yarn. It's fine. You'll have more ends to weave in, but you know, makes you stronger. Okay, so I am going to take these 2 sides and I'm going to put them really close together. I'm going to use this as my live yarn. I have another needle here. It's a size smaller, but I'm just going to do the 3 needle bind off a little bit loose, and I think it'll be okay. So what's going to happen here is we're going to knit this stitch and we're going to knit this stitch over here at the same time, and you're going to do that all the way across to join them. So I'm going to go underneath this one as if to knit it, and I'm also going to go underneath this one as if to knit it. Then guess what? I'm going to actually knit it, and I'm going to pull this through. So if you turn it like this, you can kind of see underside there. So I'm going to turn it like this. You can go bloop right under both of those with 1 stitch, and then you're going to pull them both off the needles, and you've got them in 1 stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to go under this one. I'm going to go under this one. I'm going to knit both of those. Slip both of those off. Under this one. Oops, sorry, I missed a spot. Okay, so I've got 2. Now we're going to leapfrog. So I'm going to grab one of these and I'm going to leapfrog over the end and drop it right there. Okay, so not only are we joining these 2 together, but then we're also doing a bind off. So I'm going to go here, here. We're going to knit these 2 together. I now have 2 stitches on the needles. Okay, I'm going to make these just a little looser. I'm going to grab this one here, and then I'm going to very carefully go off the end like that. So now I have 1. All right, grab another, go under here, go under here, carefully knit those 2 together, slip them off, make sure it's a little bit loose, and I'm going to leapfrog just like that. And I'm going to do this all the way to the end and to both shoulders as well. All right, I've got the very last stitch here. Go over here, and then we're going to pass this one off the end. Ooh, losing it. There we go. Pass this one off the end like that. All right, so we've just got this 1 stitch left. So I'm just going to take the tail. I'm going to put it through there. I'm going to pull that nice and tight. And now we have a shoulder seam. Now, if you do this too tight, you might have to be very careful and pick it out and try again. The 3 needle bind off sometimes can be a little bit painful, but if we flip this over, you can see what a nice seam it makes on the front side. So now that we're done with that, it's time to pick up stitches around the sleeve. So we still have these right under here under the armpit. And we need to pick up stitches along the edge here of this sleeve, and then we're going to join with these, and then we're going to begin the sleeve. So, all right, so I'm going to bring my ball of yarn in here. Okay. Now, currently this is inside out. So we are going to flip it right side out first thing so that we can pick up the stitches on the outside. Okay, that looks better. So we've got this here. Okay, so your pattern is telling you to pick up and knit a certain amount of stitches along this edge right here. So for my size, it's 70. So I want to pick up 35 here, and I want to pick up 35 here. So this is a little bit difficult. If this is your first time picking up stitches, it's kind of fun to try to figure it out. But here's how you do it. What you're going to do is, if you kind of look at the edge here, okay, if you fold the edge out all the way, you can see that there's two loops. For example, there's a loop right here, okay? So when I go to pick up a stitch, I want to go under both legs of the loop. If I just go under one, it's going to pull it like this, and it's going to leave a hole if I just go under one leg, okay? All right, so you can see here, there is a piece of yarn here that attaches this stitch to this stitch. So we want to go just above that, and we want to go under two legs just like this. Now I'm going to introduce my ball yarn, if I can find the end of it. Let's see, here it is. All right, so I'm just going to fold it into a little loop on the end, just like that. I'm going to put this loop on the end, and then I'm going to pull that stitch up like this. Okay, so there is one. Okay, so now I need to fit, let's see, half of 70 is 35, so I need to fit 35 stitches in here. So what I like to do is I like to go under, so I'm looking here, I like to go under each one of these. So that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can kind of get an idea of where you should be putting them into, because you don't want to put them too close together. What you want to do is you'd like to pick one up for every row if possible, but sometimes that gives you too many stitches. So you just kind of have to, sometimes you have to do this a few different times. So there's 2. In order to get it right, we're going to go under here. That looks pretty far apart. That's 3. I'm going to go under here, 4. And you're just going to keep picking up until you get half of the stitches on one side, and then we're going to turn it over and do half of the stitches on the other. Okay, we've picked up all of the stitches all the way around the sleeve. And now we need to transfer these stitches here to the left-hand needle, which is this one. So our live yarn is right here, okay? So we need to transfer all of these onto this needle. So I'm just going to take this off here, and we're just going to pass them over to the left-hand needle. All right, so now these are back on here. Here's my live yarn here. I'm going to place a marker, and then I'm going to knit in pattern across the armpit stitches. Purl these two. Okay, now that we're at the end of the round, we're going to place another marker. Okay, and it's time to work the other side of the arm. Okay, so this marker is the end of round marker. This one's just to remind you that you are busting into the ribbing here, okay? So this one's end of round marker, so we're going to start a new round. So I'm going to turn everything over, get that back on there. Okay, so now I'm going to put this side of the sleeves, because I'm doing magic loop, I'm going to throw those on there. We're going to put that in the back, pull this one. Okay, now this first round that you're doing all the way around here is a decrease round. Okay, so here's how the decreases are going to go. We're going to knit 2 stitches. Okay, now of course this is loose because this is where I joined, so I'm just going to pull the tail on that one. So there's knit 1 and there's knit 2. Now I'm going to do a decrease of a slip, slip, knit. So I'm going to slip this one as if to knit, slip this one as if to knit. I'm going to knit these 2 together in the back. So there's a decrease. Now I'm going to go all the way around until I have 4 stitches before the next marker. Okay, here comes my marker. Let's see, that's here's my marker. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 1 more. All right, 4 stitches before the marker. Now I'm going to knit 2 together. So that's an easy one. Then I'm going to knit 2. Then I'm going to slip my marker. I'm going to work in ribbing, and then of course I get to the end of my round, and here's my little end of round marker because I'm doing magic loop. It's kind of flopping around at the end there. Okay, so we have done our shoulder seam. We've picked up the stitches around the shoulder seam where you've joined it together for the sleeve. We've added back in the really cool ribbing that goes up the side. That's going to be like right under the armpit for the sleeve. And we figured out how to work all of this in the round. So now it's time for you to do the sleeve decreases. So for me, it says I'm going to repeat the decrease every 14th round, and I'm going to do that 11 times. So that means, so you really have to keep track of this. So grab a piece of paper and write down what row you're on. So I'm going to knit 13 rounds, and then I'm going to do a decrease round on the 14th round. That's time number 1. Then I'm going to knit 13 more rounds, and then I'm going to do another decrease on the 14th round, and that's number 2. So you really kind of have to be in a quiet place and keep track of it and make sure you write it all down in case you get interrupted. Once you're done with all of your decreases, it's going to give you a stitch count. So make sure you count and make sure that your sleeve matches what your pattern says that you should have. Then you're going to keep knitting just in stockinette with no decreases until your sleeve is 20 inches. Then you're going to bust into your ribbing. After you do ribbing for 2 inches, then you'll finally stop and we'll do the bind off. I'm going to go ahead and do my sleeves in the sewn bind off because I like them to be really stretchy, and I'll explain why when we get there. Also, it's really easy. So go ahead and get through both sleeves, put all your stitches on hold, and I will meet you in the next segment so that we can do the sewn bind off on both of the sleeves.